First we want to put the gear in that spins the speedometer gear. Now there are two little divots on the inside of the wheel that go here and here, and what they do is they spin this. As they spin this, you can see, let's see if you can see this, you can see the gear turning. That speedometer gear turns, it's a worm gear, and what that does is it turns this little square piece right here, which attaches to your speedometer cable, and that tells you your speed. Now after you get this in here and put some grease in there, then we put the seal on. I forgot how to do that. So I'm going to put that in and we'll continue. Then after we get the little seal in, we'll put the shoes on. And the shoes fit on this stud right here, as you can see. And that's a fixed stud. So it doesn't matter which way that they're put on. You put a little bit of grease right on there. There's one, and you put a little bit of grease, tiny bit up here. You don't want too much or it'll spin out. Then we put the other shoe on, right here. See, I gotta go farther on down on that. Somehow. There we go. And you can see the shoes are, they go only one way. Now we have the shoes on. The next thing we have to put in is a pivot. And this is the tricky part. As I told you before, this little line lines up, and you can see if you look very closely, there is a gap in the spline. Okay, that is a secondary thing that you need to use for putting this shaft onto this arm, because this arm right here has a small dot right where that black thing is. There's a little dot there, but also the spline shaft will only go in that way. You can get them on backwards, so just letting you know. Then what we do is we put on the shaft. I can't remember if it's straight up or not. Anyway, that's the way that goes, like that. Alright? Then we need to put on the horseshoe spring. This is a little bit tricky, hard to get on and off. You want to put just a tiny bit of grease there, just a little tiny bit. But this drops in like this. See if I can do this one-handed. It goes over here. This. Anyway, I think I got this in a little bit wrong. Let's do it this way. Let me take this shoe off and put this spring clamp in here. It's hard to do one-handed. Anyway, it just drops in like, let's see what we can do here. Well, it drops in there. I'll put it in there. It takes two hands to do it. And then we'll turn it over and work on the other side. Now I found the best way to put the spring on is getting it over this hump is really kind of hard. So what we want to do is get the shoes on first and then put the spring in either the left or the right pivot hole. And then what you want to do is you want to pull the spring around this post and then take a little screwdriver and wedge up the edge right here and put it in. Now we go to rebuild the other side, and what we have, if you'll notice that mark right there, that is going towards the center of the axle. You can put it on the other way. It can go up over here, which is the wrong way. Now, next thing we put on is the felt, which goes there. Then we put on this is the brake wear indicator right here. When your brakes get bad, this little dot, or this little arrow will line up with this here. This only goes on one way. Let's see if I can do this. It's a little tricky at first. Like I said, there's a divot in the spline shaft, which it goes on. Just like that. Okay. Now, as I said, when the brake arm is turned like that, if this arrow and that diamond line up, that means your brakes are just about shot. So the next thing we do is we get the arm, and you can see the little dot right there. Now inside, I don't know if you can see, but it's got a gap in the spline too, which only goes on one way. So this dot lines up with this mark. Oh, first of all, let me get this spring goes on like this. Actually, spring goes on first. And then this goes on like here. Let's see, where's that dot at? Got me all screwed up there. I like to put it on like this. Line up the dot. It only goes on one way. It's a little tricky to get on there. And you've got to go through the spline shaft. And you go down. And as you go down, then what you do is you take the spring on the other side and hook it right here. Which I will do. I need two hands.